What if the silence you have been calling a delay is actually the place where God has been preparing your greatest answer? What if the door has not opened because heaven is aligning everything behind the scenes? And what if this morning, the 12th of August, is not just another day on your calendar, but another reminder that your story is still in God's hands? As the sunrise breaks across the horizon, I want you to know this. Your waiting season is not wasted. Every tear you cried when nobody saw it, every prayer you whispered when you had no strength left, every night you went to sleep wondering whether things would ever change, God has seen it all. Psalm 30:5 reminds us that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And perhaps you have lived through a long night. Perhaps your heart has become tired from waiting for restoration, waiting for healing, waiting for financial breakthrough, waiting for reconciliation, waiting for an open door, waiting for the promise you thought would have happened by now. But hear me this morning. God has not forgotten you. You may not see movement, but that does not mean God is inactive. You may not see the answer, but that does not mean heaven has stopped working. Seeds grow beneath the soil long before they ever break through the ground. And sometimes God does his deepest work in places where your eyes cannot see. So before you begin this day, release the pressure to figure everything out. Release the fear that you are falling behind. Release the comparison that tells you everyone else is moving forward while you are standing still. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are being prepared. Isaiah 40:31 declares that those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. That means waiting with God is not passive. It is powerful. While you are waiting, he is strengthening you. While you are waiting, he is restoring you. While you are waiting, he is preparing your character for the blessing you have been asking him to release. Maybe you came into this morning emotionally exhausted. Maybe you smiled yesterday while carrying a burden nobody knew about. Maybe you have been strong for everyone else, while secretly asking God to give you strength just to make it through another day. This morning, let God meet you there. Let his peace enter the places where anxiety has been living. Let his healing touch the wounds you have tried to hide. Let his presence restore what disappointment has drained from you. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." So for a moment, be still. Stop running through tomorrow in your mind. Stop rehearsing yesterday's disappointments. Stop asking yourself how everything will work out. You don't have to know the entire path when you know the one who leads you. God's timing is not cruel. God's timing is not careless. And God's timing is never an accident. There are blessings that require preparation. There are doors that require maturity. There are assignments that require endurance. And there are answers that become more meaningful because of everything God taught you while you were waiting. So if your heart has been saying, "Lord, I don't understand," let your spirit begin to say, "Lord, I trust you." If you have been saying, "I don't know when," begin saying, "I know who holds my tomorrow." If you have been saying, "Nothing is changing," begin declaring, "God is working even when I cannot see it." Because your waiting season is not the graveyard of your dreams. It can become the birthplace of your faith. This morning, I pray that God will breathe fresh hope into your spirit. May he restore your expectation. May he renew your strength. May he heal the disappointment that has made you afraid to hope again. And where you have experienced delay, May God give you divine direction. Where you have experienced loss, may He bring restoration. Where you have experienced confusion, may He release peace. Where you have experienced rejection, may He remind you that you are still chosen by Him. Where you have experienced closed doors, may He prepare doors that no human being can shut. Psalm 27:14 says, "Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and He shall strengthen thine heart." So courage, child of God, lift your head, breathe again, hope again, pray again, believe again. The sunrise is proof that darkness does not have the final word. And as this new Wednesday morning begins, let this truth settle deep within your heart. God has not wasted one moment of your journey. The tears had purpose, the waiting had purpose, the wilderness had purpose, the stretching had purpose. And the season ahead will reveal why you had to trust Him through the season behind you. So wherever you are right now, prepare your heart for prayer. Let faith rise above fear. Let hope rise above disappointment. Let peace rise above anxiety. Because you may be waiting on God, but God is not wasting your waiting. And today, the 12th of August, you can step into this morning with a renewed confidence. My story is not over. My promise is not cancelled. My future is not forgotten. My breakthrough is still in God's hands. And my God is still faithful. There are moments in life when trusting God feels easier to say than to actually do. It is easy to say, God has a plan, when everything is moving in the direction you hoped. But what happens when you have prayed and nothing seems to change? What happens when you have waited longer than you expected, cried more tears than you ever imagined, and watched other people receive the very things you have been asking God for? That is where real faith begins. This morning, God is inviting you to trust His perfect timing, even when you cannot understand the waiting. You may not understand why the door has not opened. You may not understand why the answer has taken so long. You may not understand why something you prayed about months or even years ago still seems unresolved. But lack of understanding does not mean lack of purpose. God sees what you cannot see. He knows what is ahead of you. He knows what is behind the door you are asking Him to open. And He knows what must be prepared within you before you walk through it. Sometimes we become frustrated because we are looking at the calendar while God is looking at the complete picture. We ask, God, when? But God may be asking, are you ready? We ask, why hasn't it happened yet? And heaven may be saying, trust me, I am preparing something you cannot yet see. Ecclesiastes 3:11 tells us that God makes everything beautiful in its time, not in our time, not according to our schedule, not according to the pressure of society, in His time. And I know that can be difficult to hear when your heart is tired. Maybe you have been waiting for healing. Maybe you have been waiting for financial provision. Maybe you have been waiting for your family to be restored. Maybe you have been waiting for a new opportunity. Maybe you have been waiting for an answer to a prayer you have repeated so many times that you no longer know what words to use. But don't mistake silence for absence. God can be silent and still be working. God can hide the process while preparing the promise. Think about a seed buried beneath the soil. From the surface, it looks like nothing is happening. There is no visible evidence, no leaves, no fruit, no movement. But beneath the surface, roots are forming. The seed is not dead, it is developing. And sometimes your life looks exactly like that. You look around and see no evidence, but God is developing things beneath the surface. He is strengthening your faith. He is removing what cannot go with you into your next season. He is closing relationships that would have wounded your future. He is redirecting opportunities that looked good but were not good for you. He is teaching you patience. He is deepening your dependence on Him. He is preparing you to carry what you have been asking Him to give you, and one day, what seemed like delay may become the very testimony you thank God for. Psalm 37:7 says, "Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him." Notice the language. Rest, not panic, not fear, not comparison, not desperation. Rest. There is a kind of faith that says, "God, I trust you enough to stop trying to control what only you can control." That is where peace begins. You don't have to know when the breakthrough will come. You don't have to know how God will provide. You don't have to understand every detail of the journey. You simply have to know that the God who carried you through yesterday will not abandon you tomorrow. Maybe you have been looking at someone else's life and wondering why their door opened before yours. But hear this clearly. Their timing is not your timing. Their journey is not your journey. Their assignment is not your assignment. God does not have to duplicate someone else's story to bless you. Your testimony will have its own timing. Your breakthrough will have its own story. Your miracle will arrive according to the wisdom of the God who knows exactly what you need. So stop measuring your life by somebody else's timeline. Stop calling yourself behind. Stop believing that because it has not happened yet, it will never happen. You are still in God's hands. And if God has asked you to wait, then wait with expectation, wait with prayer, wait with worship, wait with courage, wait with hope. Because biblical waiting is not giving up waiting, is believing that God is faithful even before you see the evidence. Isaiah 40:31 says that those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. They will rise on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. That means God does not merely sustain you after the waiting. He strengthens you through it. The same season that made you cry can make you stronger. The same season that tested your faith can deepen your faith. The same wilderness that made you feel forgotten can become the place where you discover that God was closer than you ever realized. So this morning, release the question, "Why isn't it happening yet?" and replace it with, "Lord, what are you doing in me while I wait?" Ask Him to give you eyes to see what your circumstances cannot reveal. Ask Him for patience without passivity. Ask Him for hope without evidence. Ask Him for peace without explanation. And ask Him for the strength to keep believing when your emotions tell you to quit. Father, this morning, I pray for the person who has been waiting for so long that hope has become difficult. Touch their heart. Remind them that you have not forgotten them. Where disappointment has settled into their spirit, bring healing. Where anxiety has stolen their sleep, bring peace. Where fear has whispered, "It will never happen," let faith answer, "My God is still working." Where they have become exhausted from waiting, renew their strength, and Lord, teach them to trust your timing. If the answer is not here yet, help them trust you. If the door has not opened yet, help them trust you. If the breakthrough has not appeared yet, help them trust you. Because you see the beginning, the middle, and the end at the same time. You know what we need before we ask. You know where we are going before we arrive. And you know exactly when the blessing will be ready. So today, I choose trust over fear. I choose faith over frustration. I choose peace over anxiety. I choose patience over panic. And I choose to believe that what God has appointed for my life will arrive at the right time. My waiting is not wasted. My prayers are not wasted. My tears are not wasted. My faith is not wasted. God is working. God is preparing. God is strengthening. And when His appointed time comes, I will look back and realize that even in the waiting, He was faithful. There is a kind of pain that does not show on the outside. You can smile while carrying it. You can work while carrying it. You can talk to people, answer messages, go about your responsibilities, and still have a wounded place inside your heart that only God knows. Sometimes the hardest part of waiting is not the waiting itself. It is what the waiting does to your emotions. Repeated disappointment can make you afraid to hope. Unanswered prayers can make you question whether God heard you. Closed doors can make you wonder whether you are forgotten. And when you have been strong for too long, even the smallest disappointment can feel overwhelming. But this morning, God wants to heal what the waiting season has wounded. He does not only care about the breakthrough you are waiting for. He cares about the person you are becoming while you wait. Psalm 147:3 says, He healeth the broken in heart and bindeth up their wounds. That means you do not have to hide your pain from God. Bring Him the disappointment. Bring Him the unanswered questions. Bring Him the tears you cried when nobody was watching. Bring Him the moments when you whispered, Lord, I don't understand anymore. You don't have to pretend to be stronger than you are. You don't have to pretend that the waiting has been easy. God already knows. And because He knows, you can finally breathe. Perhaps you have reached a place where you are tired of saying, I believe. You still believe, but you are tired. You still pray, but you are tired. You still worship. But there are moments when your heart feels heavy. That does not mean your faith has failed. It means you are human. Even strong believers become weary. Even people of great faith experience seasons of discouragement. Even David cried out to God in moments of deep distress. Yet David continually returned to the presence of God. And that is what you must do today, return to His presence. Not because you have all the answers, but because He is still your refuge. Psalm 34:18 says that the Lord is near to the broken-hearted. Think about that. When your heart is broken, God does not move away. He draws near. When you feel abandoned, He draws near. When disappointment has exhausted you, He draws near. When you cannot find the words to pray, He draws near. Your pain does not repel God. Your tears do not embarrass Him. Your weakness does not disqualify you. He meets you exactly where you are. So, if you have been carrying disappointment from something that did not happen, place it into God's hands this morning. Maybe a relationship ended. Maybe an opportunity disappeared. Maybe someone promised something and never followed through. Maybe you prayed for healing and the situation did not change as quickly as you hoped. Maybe you expected this year to look completely different. Whatever it is, God can heal the place where disappointment has taken root, because disappointment can quietly change the way you see your future. You stop expecting good things. You stop getting excited. You stop believing that something beautiful could happen again because you are afraid of being hurt again. But God is calling you back to hope, not blind optimism, not pretending everything is perfect. A deeper hope, the kind of hope that says, Even if I don't understand what God is doing, I know who God is. Romans 15:13 declares, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him." Notice that God is called the God of hope. Hope does not have to come from your circumstances. Hope comes from him. Your circumstances can change overnight. Your emotions can change throughout the day. People can change their minds. Doors can open and close. But God remains faithful. And when your hope is anchored in him, your heart can survive seasons that would otherwise break you. So this morning, let God touch the exhausted places inside you. Let him heal the disappointment you have been carrying. Let him restore your ability to dream again. Let him teach your heart that one painful chapter does not determine the ending of your story. You may have experienced rejection, but rejection is not your identity. You may have experienced delay, but delay is not your destiny. You may have experienced loss, but loss does not mean God has finished writing your story. There are still chapters ahead. There are still prayers to be answered. There are still doors you have not seen. There are still moments of joy you cannot imagine yet. There is still restoration possible. There is still peace available. There is still purpose in your life. And God is not finished. Father, this morning, I pray for every heart that has been wounded by waiting. Touch the places that have become sensitive because of disappointment. Heal the memories that still cause pain. Heal the words that were spoken against them. Heal the rejection that made them question their worth. Heal the failures that made them afraid to try again. Heal the unanswered prayers that made them afraid to believe again. Lord, replace heaviness with peace, fear with confidence, disappointment with expectation, emotional exhaustion with renewed strength. Let your presence become more real to them than their circumstances. When they wake up tomorrow, let them wake with hope. When they face another challenge, let them face it with courage. When they encounter another delay, let them remember that you are still working. And when they feel like giving up, remind them of every time you have already carried them. You have brought them through storms before. You have made ways before. You have sustained them before. You have answered prayers before. And the same God who was faithful yesterday is faithful today. So don't let yesterday's disappointment steal tomorrow's expectation. Don't let what did not happen convince you that nothing ever will. Don't let one closed door make you believe there are no doors left. Your heart may be tired, but God can renew it. Your hope may be weak, but God can strengthen it. Your joy may have been buried beneath disappointment, but God can bring it back to life. Psalm 30:5 says, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning." And this morning, as the sun rises, receive that promise in your spirit. The night did not last forever. The tears did not last forever. The disappointment will not last forever. God is bringing you into another morning, and every new morning is another opportunity to trust him again. So breathe deeply. Release the pain, release the disappointment, release the pressure to understand everything. You don't have to carry what God is asking you to surrender. Give him the wound, give him the waiting, give him the questions, give him the future, and receive his peace. Father, restore their heart, restore their hope, restore their confidence, restore their joy. And let this waiting season produce something beautiful within them. May they come out of this season not bitter, but better. Not hopeless, but stronger, not broken, but healed, not fearful, but courageous. And when their breakthrough finally comes, let them know that the greatest miracle was not only what you brought into their hands, it was what you restored inside their heart while they were waiting. Sometimes God is doing His greatest work in the places you cannot see. You look at your life and see stillness. God sees preparation. You see an unanswered prayer. God sees an answer being arranged. You see a closed door. God sees protection, redirection, and a better door ahead. This morning, I want you to hold on to this truth. God is working behind the scenes. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean heaven is standing still. There are things God can be arranging right now that you have no ability to see from where you are standing. There are conversations happening that you know nothing about. There are opportunities being prepared. There are hearts being changed. There are circumstances being rearranged. There are doors being positioned. And there are battles being fought on your behalf that you may never even know existed. Isaiah 64:4 reminds us that no one has seen or heard of a God who acts on behalf of those who wait for Him. Think about that. God can be moving before you ever see the evidence. He can answer a prayer before you even recognize the answer. He can begin a restoration before the relationship looks restored. He can begin a financial breakthrough before the provision reaches your hands. He can begin healing before the symptoms disappear. He can prepare a new chapter while you are still standing in the final pages of the old one. That is why you cannot judge God's activity by what your eyes can see. Faith begins where visibility ends. You may be looking at an empty field while God is preparing a harvest. You may be looking at a wilderness while God is preparing a pathway. You may be looking at delay while God is preparing divine timing. You may be looking at nothing while heaven is preparing everything. Remember Joseph. There was a season when Joseph had a dream from God, yet his reality looked completely opposite. He was betrayed. He was thrown into a pit. He was sold. He was falsely accused. He was imprisoned. If Joseph had judged God's promise by his circumstances, he might have concluded that the dream was dead. But God was working behind the scenes. Every painful chapter was moving Joseph toward a position he could not yet imagine. The pit was not the end. The prison was not the end. The betrayal was not the end. God was preparing him for the palace. And someone listening right now needs to hear this. Your current position is not necessarily your final destination. What you are experiencing today does not have to be the conclusion of your story. You may be in a season that looks confusing. You may be surrounded by circumstances that make no sense. But God can take pieces you cannot understand and create a picture you could never have designed yourself. Romans 8:28 reminds us that God works all things together for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. It does not say that every circumstance is good. It says God can work through all things. That means even the disappointment can become part of your testimony. Even the delay can become preparation. Even the rejection can become redirection. Even the closed door can become protection. Even the season that made you cry can eventually become the season you thank God for. So, don't give up because you cannot see the whole picture. A painter sees the finished masterpiece, while the observer may only see individual strokes. You may be looking at one difficult brushstroke. God sees the masterpiece. And because he sees what you cannot see, you can trust him. Maybe right now you are praying for an open door. You have applied, you have called, you have waited, you have asked, you have believed, and nothing seems to be happening. But what if God is preparing the right opportunity instead of simply giving you the fastest opportunity? What if he is protecting you from something you would have entered too early? What if the delay is not denial? What if it is divine preparation? There are doors that look beautiful but lead to places God never intended you to live. And there are doors that look ordinary but lead directly into your purpose. You need God to choose the door. You need God to choose the timing. You need God to choose the people. You need God to choose the opportunity, because he sees what you cannot see. Psalm 121 says that your help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Your help is not limited to what you can calculate. Your future is not limited to what you can currently see. Your provision is not limited to your present circumstances. God has resources you have never considered. He has connections you have never met. He has possibilities you have never imagined. He can make a way where there appears to be no way. So this morning, stop trying to force what God has asked you to trust him with. You don't have to manipulate the door open. You don't have to chase what God has not assigned to you. You don't have to beg people to recognize your value. You don't have to compromise your peace just to make something happen. If God is in it, you will not have to destroy yourself to sustain it. Let God lead, let God prepare, let God arrange, let God open, and let God close what needs to remain closed. Father, this morning, I pray for everyone who feels like nothing is happening. Remind them that you are working behind the scenes. When they cannot see the answer, give them faith. When they cannot see the road, give them trust. When they cannot see the provision, give them peace. When they cannot see the breakthrough, give them patience. Lord, arrange what needs to be arranged. Move what needs to be moved. Close what needs to be closed. Open what needs to be opened. Restore what can be restored. Remove what must be removed. And prepare them for the blessings you have appointed for their lives. Give them discernment, so they do not mistake temptation for opportunity. Give them wisdom, so they do not force doors you have not opened. Give them patience, so they do not abandon the process too soon. And give them courage to keep walking, even when the road is unfamiliar. Let them remember that Moses could not see the Red Sea parting before he reached it. Abraham could not see the promised future when God first called him. David could not see the throne while he was still tending sheep. Joseph could not see the palace while sitting in prison, but God was faithful through every unseen step, and he is faithful to you. So today, I declare over your life, God is working, God is preparing, God is arranging, God is restoring, God is making a way. Your prayers have not disappeared into silence. Your tears have not fallen unnoticed. Your faith has not been wasted. There is movement you cannot yet see. There is purpose you do not yet understand. There is a future God is preparing that is bigger than what you can currently imagine. So keep praying, keep believing, keep walking, keep trusting. The story is still unfolding. And one day, you may look back at this exact season and say, now I understand why God made me wait. Because what you thought was nothing happening was actually God preparing everything. There comes a moment when you realize that worrying about tomorrow has stolen too much of today. You have replayed conversations. You have imagined worst-case scenarios. You have wondered how the bills will be paid, how the family situation will work out, how the door will open, how the healing will come, how the future will unfold. And while your mind has been living in tomorrow, God has been inviting you to receive His peace today. This morning, release the anxiety about what you cannot control. You do not have to carry tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. Jesus said in Matthew 6:34, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." That is not a suggestion to ignore your responsibilities. It is an invitation to trust your Father. God knows what you need. He knows what concerns you. He knows the questions you have not spoken aloud. He knows the financial pressure. He knows the uncertainty. He knows the family situation. He knows the dreams you are waiting to see fulfilled. He knows the battle happening inside your mind. And He is saying, "Give me today, not next month, not next year, not the entire future, just today." There is grace for today. There is strength for today. There is mercy for today. There is provision for today. There is peace for today. Psalm 118:24 declares, "This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." This day is a gift. Don't allow fear about a future you cannot see to rob you of the morning God has placed in front of you. Look at the sunrise. The darkness did not have the final word. Night passed. Morning came, and just as surely as the sun rises after darkness, God can bring clarity after confusion, peace after anxiety, strength after exhaustion, and hope after disappointment. Maybe you woke up this morning with a heavy heart. Before your feet even touched the floor, your mind began racing. What if? What if it doesn't work? What if I lose this opportunity? What if the situation gets worse? What if my prayer isn't answered? But what if you replaced every what if with a declaration of faith? What if you said, "What if God makes a way? What if God provides? What if God restores? What if God opens the right door? What if this season is preparing me for something greater?" Fear asks you to imagine everything that could go wrong. Faith reminds you that God is already there. Philippians 4:6-7 tells us not to be anxious, but to bring everything to God through prayer and thanksgiving, and His peace will guard our hearts and minds. Notice the promise. God does not merely tell you to stop worrying. He gives you somewhere to take the worry. Take it to Him. When anxiety rises, pray. When fear rises, pray. When uncertainty rises, pray. When your thoughts become overwhelming, pray. You don't have to solve everything before you can have peace. Peace is not the result of having every answer. Peace is knowing that God is with you while you wait for the answers. And there is a difference. You can be surrounded by uncertainty and still have peace. You can have unanswered questions and still have hope. You can be waiting for a breakthrough and still wake up with gratitude, because your peace is not anchored in circumstances. Your peace is anchored in God. Isaiah 26:3 says that God will keep in perfect peace the one whose mind is stayed on Him because they trust in Him. So today, bring your mind back to God. When your thoughts run into tomorrow, bring them back. When fear begins writing stories that God never wrote, bring your thoughts back. When anxiety tells you that everything depends on you, remember that you have a Father who is already ahead of you. You are not carrying your future alone. God is already in tomorrow. He was there before you arrived. He knows every conversation. He knows every opportunity. He knows every challenge. He knows every need. And nothing will surprise him. So you can breathe. You can slow down. You can pray. You can trust. Father, this morning, I pray for every person whose mind has been overwhelmed by anxiety. Let your peace enter their thoughts. Quiet the voices of fear. Silence the lies that tell them everything will fall apart. Remind them that you are their refuge and strength. Psalm 46:1 declares that you are a very present help in trouble. Be present with them today. In their home, be present. At their workplace, be present. In their decisions, be present. In their finances, be present. In their relationships, be present. In their waiting, be present. Where there is confusion, release wisdom. Where there is fear, release courage. Where there is pressure, release peace. Where there is exhaustion, release strength. Where there is uncertainty, release confidence. Lord, teach them to live one day at a time. Help them stop carrying problems that belong to tomorrow. Help them stop punishing themselves for things they cannot change. Help them release the need to control every outcome. Give them the grace to say, God, I have done what I can. Now I trust you with what I cannot do. That is not weakness, that is faith. And sometimes the greatest act of faith is surrender. Surrender the timeline. Surrender the outcome. Surrender the unanswered question. Surrender the person you cannot change. Surrender the door you cannot open. Surrender the future you cannot control, and place it all into the hands of the one who holds eternity. Your Father is not asking you to know everything. He is asking you to trust him. So today choose peace. When fear speaks, choose peace. When anxiety rises, choose peace. When the future looks uncertain, choose peace. Not because everything is perfect, but because God is faithful. You may not know what tomorrow holds, but you know who holds tomorrow. You may not know how the breakthrough will come, but you know who can make a way. You may not know when the answer will arrive, but you know that God's timing is perfect. So lift your head this morning, take a deep breath, thank God for another day, and walk into this Wednesday without carrying the weight of the entire future on your shoulders. There is grace waiting for you in this moment. There is mercy waiting for you in this morning. There is strength waiting for you for today's assignment. And there is peace available to you right now. Your future is in God's hands. Your waiting is in God's hands. Your family is in God's hands. Your dreams are in God's hands. And when everything is in His hands, you can finally let your heart rest. Today, I choose faith over fear. I choose peace over panic. I choose prayer over worry. I choose hope over despair. And I choose to trust God with tomorrow, while faithfully living today. Because the God who carried me through yesterday will give me grace for today, and He will already be waiting for me in tomorrow. There is a moment when waiting stops feeling like waiting and starts feeling like the end. You have prayed, you have believed, you have endured, you have cried, you have started over. And perhaps somewhere along the way, you began to wonder, maybe this is simply how my story will remain. But this morning, I want to speak directly to that place in your heart and remind you, your story is not finished. The chapter you are living today is not the conclusion God has written for you. Your waiting season is not wasted. Your tears are not wasted. Your prayers are not wasted, your faith is not wasted, and your future is not forgotten. As this Wednesday morning begins and the first light of the day pushes back the darkness, Let that sunrise become a picture of what God can do in your life. Darkness can be real without being permanent. Night can feel long without lasting forever. And a difficult season can be painful without becoming your final destination. Psalm 32:5 says, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning." Maybe your night has felt unusually long. Maybe you have been waiting for your morning. But God is still the God of the morning. He is still the God who restores. He is still the God who makes a way. He is still the God who raises the broken. He is still the God who turns mourning into dancing, and He is still writing your story. You may not see the entire picture yet, but don't walk away from the story while God is still writing it. Think about how many times Scripture shows us people who were one chapter away from a breakthrough. Joseph went from prison to palace. David went from shepherd to king. Esther went from an ordinary position to becoming a vessel of deliverance for her people. The disciples watched Jesus die before they witnessed the resurrection. What looked like an ending was not always an ending. Sometimes God allows you to stand in a place where you cannot see the next chapter because He wants you to trust the author. And the author of your life has not made a mistake. So rise again, hope again, pray again, believe again. Even if your faith feels small, bring God what you have. Even if your prayer is only a whisper, pray it. Even if your heart has been disappointed, open it to God again. You do not need perfect faith. You need a willing heart. Jesus said in Matthew 17:20 that faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. So don't despise the little faith you have today. Give it to God. Let Him strengthen it. Let Him breathe on it. Let Him turn that small spark into a fire of expectation, because your circumstances do not get to decide whether you will have hope. God does. And God is the God of hope. Romans 15:13 says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him." Notice that hope is not something you have to manufacture by yourself. God fills you with it. So if you have run out of hope, come to Him. If you are exhausted, come to Him. If you are disappointed, come to Him. If you are afraid to believe again, come to Him. If you don't know what tomorrow will bring, come to Him. He is not asking you to carry yourself. He is asking you to trust Him. Father, this morning, I pray over the person who feels like their best days are behind them. Let hope rise again. Over the person who has been waiting for a breakthrough, let faith rise again. Over the person who has experienced rejection, let confidence rise again. Over the person who has lost something precious, let healing rise again. Over the person who has been disappointed by people, let trust in you rise again. Over the person who has been exhausted by uncertainty, let peace rise again. Lord, restore their expectation, restore their courage, restore their joy, restore their ability to dream. Restore their ability to believe that beautiful things can still happen. Let them understand that a delayed promise is not necessarily a denied promise. Let them understand that a closed door is not necessarily the end of the journey. Let them understand that one difficult season cannot cancel your purpose. And let them wake up today knowing that their future is still in your hands. Maybe you have been asking God, when will my turn come? But perhaps the better prayer is, Lord, prepare me for what you are bringing. Prepare my heart. Prepare my character. Prepare my wisdom. Prepare my relationships. Prepare my capacity. Prepare my spirit. Prepare me so that when the door opens, I will not destroy what you have given me because I was unprepared to carry it. There are blessings that require preparation. There are opportunities that require maturity. There are assignments that require endurance. And there are answers that require us to become someone capable of stewarding them well. So don't hate the preparation. Don't despise the process. Don't curse the waiting season. Let God use it. Let Him develop you. Let Him strengthen you. Let Him deepen you. Let Him teach you. And when the appointed time comes, you will not only receive the blessing, you will understand why God prepared you for it. Psalm 126:5 says, "Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy." Your tears can become seeds. Your prayers can become seeds. Your endurance can become seeds. Your obedience can become seeds. And God knows how to bring a harvest from what you planted in difficult seasons. So keep sowing, keep praying, keep trusting, keep worshiping, keep moving forward. Even if today you can only take one small step, take it. Even if all you can do is whisper, "Jesus, help me." Whisper it. He hears, He sees, He knows, and He is faithful today. I declare over your life, you will not die in your waiting season. You will not remain trapped in disappointment. You will not allow fear to write the ending of your story. You will rise again. You will hope again. You will walk again. You will dream again. You will praise again. And you will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Psalm 27:13 says, "I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living." Hold on to that confidence. You may not know when. You may not know how. You may not know through whom, but you can know this. God is faithful. Your story is still unfolding. Your future is still being prepared. Your prayers still matter. Your faith still matters. Your life still carries purpose. And your waiting has not been wasted. So as you step into this Wednesday morning, don't step forward with the mindset of someone forgotten. Step forward as someone being prepared. Don't step forward expecting disappointment. Step forward expecting God. Don't step forward believing the best is behind you. Step forward knowing that God can still surprise you with His goodness. The sunrise is here. A new morning has arrived. And perhaps this morning is God's gentle reminder. Child, keep going. I am not finished. The story is not over. Trust me. My timing is perfect. And what I am preparing for you will be worth every moment you trusted me in the waiting. Sometimes the greatest breakthrough begins with a decision nobody else can see. It begins when you wake up and decide that fear will no longer dictate your expectations. It begins when you decide that disappointment will not become your identity. It begins when you decide that yesterday's pain will not determine tomorrow's faith. And this morning, that decision can begin with you. You have waited. You have prayed. You have endured. But now God is calling you to rise with faith, knowing that your waiting has not been wasted, and His appointed time will bring the breakthrough. There is something powerful about a person who has been through disappointment and still chooses to believe. There is something powerful about someone who has cried and still worships. Someone who has been rejected and still loves. Someone who has experienced delay and still trusts. Someone who has been wounded and still gets back on their knees and says, "Lord, I believe you." That kind of faith is not shallow. That kind of faith has been tested, and God sees it. Hebrews 10:35-36 reminds us not to throw away our confidence. because we need endurance, so that after doing God's will, we may receive what He has promised. Your confidence matters, your endurance matters, your continued faith matters. You may feel like nothing has changed, but every day you continue trusting God, you are declaring that your circumstances do not have the final authority over your faith. Your emotions may say, "Give up." Your circumstances may say, "It's impossible." Your past may say, "It will happen again." But your spirit can say, "God is still faithful." And that declaration can change the atmosphere of your morning. So today, don't wake up expecting another day of disappointment. Wake up expecting God to be God. That does not mean everything will happen exactly when you want it. It means you trust that whatever God does, whenever He does it, His wisdom is greater than yours. Psalm 31-24 says, "Be strong and take heart, all you who hope in the Lord." Take heart, that means strengthen your inner being, lift your head, straighten your shoulders. Get up again. There is still purpose ahead of you. There are still prayers to pray. There are still people you will encourage. There are still doors you will walk through. There are still testimonies you have not told. There are still moments of laughter that have not happened. There are still mornings when you will look back and realize that God was preparing something beautiful all along. So don't let the length of the waiting convince you that the promise has lost its power. Time does not make God less faithful. Delay does not make God less capable. Silence does not make God less present. And your current circumstances do not have the authority to cancel God's purpose for your life. Isaiah 43:19 says, "Behold, I will do a new thing." A new thing. That means God can introduce something you have never experienced before. He can create an opportunity you never expected. He can restore something you thought was permanently lost. He can lead you into a season you could not have predicted. And when He does, you will understand that your waiting was not empty. It was preparation. It was strengthening. It was alignment. It was protection. It was growth. It was God teaching you how to trust Him beyond what you could see. Father, this morning I pray for the person who is standing at the edge of giving up. Give them one more reason to believe. Give them strength for one more step. Give them courage for one more day. Let hope rise in their spirit again. Where they have said, "I cannot do this anymore," remind them that they don't have to do it alone. Where they have said, "I don't know how this will work," remind them that you already know the way. Where they have said, "I don't know what tomorrow holds," remind them that tomorrow is already in your hands. Where they have said, "I have waited too long," remind them that your timing is never controlled by human clocks. Lord, restore their confidence in your goodness. Teach them to wait without losing their joy. Teach them to hope without demanding a timetable. Teach them to trust without needing every detail. Teach them to move forward without knowing the entire path. And when fear tries to pull them backward, give them the courage to keep walking. Maybe their breakthrough is closer than they realize. Maybe the conversation that changes everything is already being prepared. Maybe the opportunity they have been praying for is closer than they think. Maybe the restoration they thought was impossible is beginning quietly. Maybe the answer is developing beneath the surface. They don't have to know. They only have to trust. Because God does not need your permission to work in places you cannot reach. He can work in hearts you cannot change. He can open doors you cannot open. He can create opportunities you cannot create. He can provide resources you cannot produce. He can make a way where there appears to be no way. So stop limiting God by what you can currently see. Your resources may be limited. God is not. Your strength may be limited. God is not. Your knowledge may be limited. God is not. Your options may be limited. God is not. Your future may look uncertain. God already knows it. This is why you can rise with faith, not because you have every answer, but because you know the one who does. So as this Wednesday morning continues, carry a different posture. Don't carry the posture of defeat. Carry expectation. Don't carry yesterday's disappointment. Carry today's grace. Don't carry tomorrow's anxiety. Carry today's faith. Don't carry the weight of trying to control everything. Carry the confidence that God is leading you. And when you don't know what to do, pray. When you don't know where to go, seek God. When you don't know what to say, worship. When you don't know how it will happen, trust. When you feel like you cannot continue, remember how far God has already brought you. You have survived days you thought would destroy you. You have walked through nights you thought would never end. You have endured moments you never thought you could survive. And here you are, still standing, still breathing, still praying, still believing. That is evidence of God's sustaining grace. So don't stop now. Your story is not over. Your waiting is not wasted. Your faith is not forgotten. Your prayers are not meaningless. And your breakthrough does not have to look exactly the way you imagined for God to be faithful. Trust Him with the process. Trust Him with the timing. Trust Him with the outcome. And trust Him with your heart. Father, let this morning mark a new beginning. Let tired hearts become hopeful again. Let broken hearts become courageous again. Let discouraged minds become peaceful again. Let those who have been waiting receive fresh strength. Let those who have been praying receive renewed expectation. Let those who have been standing at closed doors discover that you are preparing another way. And when your appointed time comes, let them recognize it. Give them wisdom to walk through the right door. Give them courage to leave the wrong one. Give them discernment to recognize your voice, and give them faith to say yes when you call them forward. Today, I will not surrender my hope. Today, I will not let disappointment define me. Today, I will not allow fear to write my future. Today, I will trust God's timing. Today, I will believe again. Today, I will rise again. And today, I will walk forward knowing that my waiting has not been wasted, because the God who began the work is faithful to complete it. And when the breakthrough comes, I will not only celebrate what God did for me, I will remember what He did in me while I was waiting. He strengthened me, He healed me, He matured me, He deepened my faith. He taught me patience, He taught me peace. He taught me that even when I could not see Him moving, He was never absent. So rise this morning, lift your eyes, take another step. Your story is still being written. Your future is still in God's hands, and the appointed time is still in His perfect control. Keep believing, keep praying, keep walking. Your waiting is not wasted. God is still faithful.